We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
When people think of Donald Trump's presidential legacy, many consider the most significant act was to get 3 new Supreme Court justices into the highest court in the land. But it appears that Senate Democrats are keen to topple even this. What's the plan? What are the machinations? And will they actually work? We're fortunate to be back with our special Talking Liberty segment here on Liberty Nation Radio, speaking with legal affairs editor, host of the Uprising podcast, and Van Morrison superfan, Mr. Scott D. Cosenza, Esquire. For all the latest, Scott, good to have you back.
Cheers, Mark. Great to be here.
So, Scott, the Senate Judiciary Committee, they launched I guess what do you call a full-scale rhetorical assault against Justice Clarence Thomas this week. Give us the details, please.
Yeah, I just consider it one more front in the battle lines that the left has been waging against Clarence Thomas. Well, they've really done it for years, but they've renewed those efforts in the spring, and especially since the Dobbs decision and the recent, the Supreme Court's been issuing all these decisions that are not breaking their way, and they seem to be going into conniption fits. And one of the ways in which they're sort of exacting their revenge is to attack Justice Thomas and ostracize him, sort of the Alinskyite model of isolate and attack. And this hearing was remarkable, Mark, because for every kind of allegation or whiff of impropriety or challenging point that Justice Thomas's record might reveal, there was a greater error, challenge, or difficult point for any number of justices that would be on the left block of the court, which animated no criticism or consternation when those things arose. And so it just seems like hypocrisy laid bare when if your guy does it or lady does it and you say nothing, and then when the other guy does and you make hay out of it.
Well, it's British polemicist and YouTube star Paul Joseph Watson, as he likes to say, it's okay when we do it. Now,
Right.
It does seem that all these attacks are focused primarily on Justice Clarence Thomas. Now, I know that you and I both have love for his jurisprudence, but of course, the left is clearly very anti-Thomas. Why specifically him? Because Alito is as, if not perhaps more so, on the conservative spectrum. Gorsuch and Kavanaugh really haven't got the historical chops to match that. But why focus specifically on Thomas?
Well, Justice Thomas himself has said that it's because of the color of his skin and because he's the wrong kind of black person, that they cannot abide that here is a black man who represents really a counterpoint just by his existence and the arguments that he presents as a counterpoint to all their sort of constructive narratives that animate their, writ large, their whole sort of political beings. That's some of my words interspersed with some of his, but to be sure, it is on his opinion, it is about the color of his skin and not meeting up with expectations that they place on human beings because of their skin color, and then what kind of arguments they should embrace and espouse.
If you can try and be a little objective on this, would you say that Justice Thomas's words are accurate?
Well, it's hard to imagine why else they hate him or go after him so much. His record does not reveal a compromised ethical standard, which is how these recent attacks have been characterized. For instance, there was this big hit piece in ProPublica called Justice Thomas and the Billionaire, I think is the title, about this man, Harlan Crow, who Justice Thomas is close friends with and has accepted many generous gifts of hospitality, namely going on his boat and hanging out at his house, which is a giant, lovely place. If you're a billionaire, it's not a tract home down by the railroad tracks, as you might imagine. But there's no implication that A, they're not genuine friends, or that B, Justice Thomas has somehow changed or shaded his rulings because of it. And it's just funny because, other Supreme Court justices have been the benefit of the largesse of billionaires, namely Justice Stevens, I think, and Justice Ginsburg have both been. And again, not a peep said about those. But here's the thing about this relationship with Mr. Crow. Because they are close friends, Justice Thomas is not allowed to rule on any of his anything that would basically be one of his businesses anyway. In other words, it doesn't even matter the financial relationship, right? Just because they are dear friends, once you've established that as a justice, you can't then sit in judgment of a case directly involving one of their interests.
So it seems to me that the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee, they have, and of course the wider Democratic Party, we've had Representative Alexandra Cortez talk quite openly about the alleged corruption of Justice Thomas, among other Democrats. And it seems that either they want to draw down his reputation as a justice so much that either they can come up with a mechanism for removing him from office, or they can water down the weight he holds within the court by making the case for an expansion of the court. Is that what they're hoping for?
I think so. And also, let's not downplay the notion that they then, when they bring Justice Thomas down, they get to stand on his reputation and beat their own chests and wear their hero's cape. I think it's great politics for almost all members of the Senate Judiciary Committee to do so. They don't put people who are usually in competitive races on that committee, because that's where they want the real partisan hacks to do their dirt, you know? And so as I look at the membership there, these aren't people who are going to have to generally confront red or purplish, voters to justify those attacks. It's red meat for them, and presumably will help not only at election time, but their fundraising as well when they put these clips of them railing against Justice Thomas' legitimacy, on Twitter and other social medias.
Just a brief point of, I guess, mechanics. Is there a way that Justice Thomas could be removed or be cut off at the legs, as it were?
No. Justice Thomas can be impeached, like any Supreme Court justice can be impeached by the Congress. To do so, they would have to follow the same procedure they use to impeach and remove. By the way, I actually should have stated that it's a two-part process, right? Yeah. So the Congress impeaches and the Senate then votes to remove upon conviction. And that's the exact procedure that would have to be taken to alter in any way Justice Thomas's position in office as Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court.
Well, it seems with Republicans in control of the House at the moment and an evenly split Senate, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Scott DeCosenza, we will keep following this, and please, listeners, do go and check out Scott DeCosenza's article on this very topic on the pages of libertynation.com. Thanks for being here, Scott.
Cheers. Thank you, Mark.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5.